Good afternoon. I'm Major Retired Keith Carble, and on behalf of Lieutenant Colonel Don J. McDonald and the officers, non-commissioned officers, staff members, and cadets of the Freedom Battalion, welcome to the joint Army ROTC commissioning ceremony for Widener, Penn State Abington, Neumann, and Westchester Universities. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to present to you the commissioning class of May 2012. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the national anthem to be sung by Mrs. Sharon Conowitz and remain standing for the recitation of the Soldier's Creed by Cadet Khalil Johnson and the invocation to be given by the Reverend Ryan Henderson.
Center, face. Present, arms.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Order, arms. Ready, front.
I am an American soldier. I am a warrior and a member of a team. I serve the people of the United States and live the Army values. I will always place the mission first. I will never accept defeat. I will never quit. I will never leave a fallen comrade. I am disciplined, physically and mentally tough, trained and proficient in my warrior tasks and drills. I will always maintain my arms, my equipment, and myself. I am an expert, and I am a professional. I stand ready to deploy, engage, and destroy the enemies of the United States in close combat. I am a guardian of freedom and American way of life. I am an American soldier.
If we can be in an attitude of prayer. Holy Creator, blessed Healer and Redeemer, the one who calls us and challenges us and gifts us with courage and compassion. As we gather this day, we ask that you will be with every member of our military family. Every member that is in harm's way, bless them with safety and guidance. We also ask that you will be with each one of us on this holy and joyful day, a day where as a community gathered, we will celebrate the accomplishments of these cadets. May each one of them have the courage to laugh, to smile, to celebrate success, and remember, as we look with vigilance into the future, Holy God, be that which unites us as we pray your presence will be here with us. May it be so. Amen.
Please be seated.
Take seats.
It is now my honor to present Lieutenant Colonel Don McDaniel, the Freedom Battalion Commander and Professor of Military Science.
President Harris, President Miranda, General and Mr. Dyson, Provost Wilhite and Lamors, deans, faculty, and most importantly, the friends and family of these wonderful cadets. Welcome and thank you for joining us here on this beautiful day. Today we will commission 14 new lieutenants from 4 of our 8 universities that represent the Freedom Battalion. 9 are from Widener University, the host school, 3 from Westchester, and 1 each from Neumann and Penn State Abington. Today, these young men and women prepared to receive their commissions from the President of the United States. Commissions are legal instruments the President uses to appoint and exercise direct control over qualified people to act as his legal agents to help him carry out his duties. So as of today, you are working for the President of the United States. Should go well on your resume. Before I introduce our guest speaker, I have a few quick remarks while I have a captive audience. First of all, to the parents and family members of these young men and women, I would like to say thank you for supporting them as they navigated their way through college and through the rigors of the ROTC program. What they have undertaken is neither easy or something that should be taken lightly. They have chosen to serve our nation during a time of war. On average, these cadets were 11 years old, probably in about the 5th grade on September 11th. Our nation has been at war for more than half of their lives. When the sounds of gunfire rang out, they came and chose to defend freedom. As an old soldier who's nearing the end of my career, I will sleep well at night knowing that there are brave young men and women like these that are still prepared to come forward in the defense of freedom. I would like at this time to give all of you a round of applause for the great young men and women that you have raised. Cadets, remember our past as we continue to look to the future. Next month is the Army's 237th birthday, older than the nation itself. Widener traces its roots back to 1821, and the school began military training in 1858 as a Delaware Military Academy, eventually becoming Pennsylvania Military College, or PMC, until 1972, then Widener University. This institution has a 158-year history of producing leaders of character for our armed forces. You see the Gettysburg Battle Streamer on your battalion colors earned by cadets before you. Officers from this institution have served their country in every major conflict since and continue today. There may not be a Corps of Cadets in Chester any longer, but they live on through you as the Freedom Battalion Commission's leaders displaying character, honor, and integrity. You are not only the legacy of the cadets of the PMC, now you are actually a part of this proud history. Looking to the future, your fellow graduates that will graduate this weekend with you, one day will be reading history books about what you have done and what you will do as a future leader in the United States Army. Lastly, I will remind you of the seriousness of the task we are about to undertake. As an officer, you are being entrusted with the lives of America's sons and daughters, our most treasured resource. As I look out at your family members, I know they all love you dearly. All of your soldiers will also have family members who love them as well and are counting on you to make the right decisions that ensure they come home. You will have to accomplish your mission and have that in the balance. Some of you could be leading soldiers in combat within months of completing your follow-on training. Remember to be a humble leader. If your unit does well, it is because of the great men and women that you have the privilege of leading. If your unit has problems, it is because of you, and you will do everything you can to fix it. It is never about you, but always about the men and women you have been entrusted to lead. I know you all are capable, and I know you all will be able to get the mission done. With that, I wish you Godspeed as you begin your military careers. It is now my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker, Brigadier General Promotable Karen Dyson. Her full biography is in the program, and I would encourage you all to read that. I will just cover some of the highlights. She currently serves as the Director of Business Operations for the Army's Office of Business Transformation, with responsibility to assist the Army's transformation of business operations and processes. She has commanded multiple units in contingency operations, including Operation Desert Shield, Desert Storm, Operation Joint Guard and Joint Forge, and Operation Iraqi Freedom and Enduring Freedom. She also supported the nation's initial governing organization in Iraq as Chief of Coalition Provisional Authority Support Team. Brigadier General Dyson is married to Colonel Retired James Chamberlain, who is with us also today. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome General Karen Dyson.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. What a great day to come out on such a beautiful campus that is so rich in not only history on the academic side, but also military history, to celebrate and commemorate such an important event in the lives of the cadets that I see to my left and to my right. Thank you all for coming and being a part of this today. Jim and I are honored to be here and honored to be able to speak to you a little bit today. Today marks a real transition for these cadets who will soon be commissioned as officers in the United States Army into a profession of arms that is based on a commitment to support and defend the Constitution of the United States, into a profession that is rooted in American values and trust, a trust that exists internally between soldiers and leaders, and a trust that exists externally between soldiers and the American public that we serve. I'd like to start out by acknowledging those that have been very influential in shaping the years of academic study and military training to bring us to this milestone today. President Harris, President Miranda, Provost Lambers, and Provost Wilhite, and Ms. DeBunda. Thank you all for the role that you have had in creating the opportunities for higher learning in this university and those that are affiliated with the Freedom Battalion ROTC program. The rich history that exists here today and the climate of academic excellence is truly inspiring for all of us that are visiting. I also want to recognize the leaders from the Freedom Battalion. Colonel Don McDonald, the Professor of Military Science, Major Gary Niles, Executive Officer, Master Sergeant Jason Seeberger, the Senior Military Instructor, Captain Brian Conowitz, Captain Russell Watkins, Mr. John Peterson, and the rest of the Freedom Battalion cadre. Thank you all for the role that you've had in being the leadership team that has brought these cadets to where they are today and provided a wide variety of programs to round out their training as they prepare to become Army officers. I know from my own experience as an assistant professor of military science at Shippensburg University some years ago that when this day came at the end of the year and we were sitting to watch the cadets that we'd worked so hard with as the small team that the cadre of ROTC battalions is, we were overwhelmed with pride at being able to reach this milestone. So thank you all for the role that you've played in bringing them to where they are today. I'd also like to recognize the families. We have several veterans in the audience today, and we have every service represented as I look around at the different uniforms. I'd like to recognize the friends, the neighbors, the brothers, the sisters, the moms, the dads, the cousins, as I met a couple as I was going through shaking some hands. Your support and your influence for some, your support and your influence for some has spanned just a couple of years, and for some it has spanned a lifetime, and for some it just seems like it's been a lifetime. But your support has been instrumental in the success of these young men and women. I suspect that along the way there were times of challenge and times of uncertainty about their choice of profession, about their choice of their major in college, and many other life decisions that you helped them make. They may not realize now how influential you have been, but as many of us know, they will gain a deeper appreciation for your leadership and your mentorship as they enter the workplace and they continue their life journey. I'd also like to welcome Tracy DeWan, who I saw sitting over here, and Alexa Vaders, who I don't know where she is. Is she here someplace? Alexa, there she is. Alexa and DeWan are about to become Army wives. So I would like to welcome you to the Army family team that we have. Your support to your husbands is so important in so many ways. But I want you to know that you're also joining a larger family support network. When you join your husbands at their permanent duty stations, there will be a network of family support that's available to you. And the Army is about people, and the Army is about families, and the families will be there for you. So thank you for your support. My own husband's support, my own spouse's support has been hugely important for me for many, many years. It was very important today as we made the drive up here because he was my driver for this trip. He's a retired Army or Air Force colonel, and as was said, but you don't have any information about him in the bio. We were a joint military couple for many years, me in the Army, him in the Air Force. If you have any questions about B-1 bombers or B-52s or radar sites in Alaska or what it's like to live in Turkey for many, many years, he'd be happy to talk to you about that, I guarantee it. But truly, he and I are both very honored to be here today and share in the pride of this event. I'd like to turn to talk briefly to the parents who are here. Colonel McDaniel already acknowledged the great influence that you had and the thanks that we have for your support. You are entrusting your sons and your daughters to the United States Army, a time-honored profession of high standards and commitment of service to our nation. On behalf of the Army senior leaders, I want to thank you for your trust and your confidence in our institution, and for supporting your sons and your daughters so that they could become the commissioned officers that they're about to become in a few minutes. And to the cadets who will be commissioned, I want to thank you for the choices that you have made that bring you here today. Now, I'm going to talk to you for the rest of my presentation or my speech about three things. One, I'm going to talk about an Army in transition. And secondly, I'm going to talk about learning. And third, I'm going to talk about leading. You're entering an Army at a time of great challenge. We have been at war for more than 10 years now. And as Colonel McDaniel pointed out, for most of you, that's possibly half of your lifetimes. It may be hard for you to imagine a world where war and conflict were not a constant in the evening news and in the landscape of our national security. You may not have been in a place yet to really understand what is meant by persistent conflict and what is meant by threats such as terrorism or asymmetric warfare. Persistent conflict was certainly not the norm for me in the first 20 years of my military career, but it may be the new norm for you now. The Army is adapting to this new norm. You're entering an Army that's drawing down from war. Much like when I was commissioned more than 30 years ago, it's hard to believe it's been 30 years, but it goes by fast. But when I was commissioned at the end of 30 years ago, it was at the end of the Vietnam War, and we were also drawing down at that time. We are drawing down from Iraq right now and from Afghanistan. The end of these deployments to the war theater will bring its own challenges. The units that you will go to after your basic leadership training will most likely be resetting themselves. They'll be resetting in the way they train, in how they are equipped, and how the unit reintegrates back home with friends and families. And for some, soldiers will be reintegrating themselves on a personal level from the wounds of war. The Army is still at war, but we are in the transition of coming home. You are entering an Army that is in transition of missions, training, equipment, and doctrine. Building on the transformation during the years of war, as we adapted to meet the needs of the nation, we are still changing. Innovation and adaptation are the characteristics of the future force that America's Army is building. You are going to be a part of that change. You will be expected to apply your knowledge gained here academically and through your life's experiences to solving problems and building teams that achieve mission success. Whether in training or on the battlefield, you will soon find yourself leading America's sons and daughters in accomplishing tasks that will challenge and reward you and teach you new lessons and give you even more knowledge. You are going to be an important part of the change that is happening inside an Army in transition. You are entering an Army that is a team of teams, where you can expect to work and build your network with members across the active, the Guard, and the Reserve components. Some of you, particularly those who are going into the National Guard or into the Army Reserve, will enter career fields that will put you in direct contact with other government agencies in civil military operations that answer the call of our nation at home. Other organizations like the State Department, FEMA, state governments, the Department of Homeland Defense. Some of you will find yourselves training alongside militaries from other nations around the world, giving you the opportunity to learn about a new culture and to possibly learn a new language. These missions will forge partnerships with countries that are important to our national security. And I would suggest that you will all find it very interesting when you have an opportunity to work with our sister services, the Air Force, the Navy, the Marines, and even the Coast Guard. We are all working more closely together as part of a joint force that supports our national security. And I'm sure there will not be too much time before you have an opportunity to work side by side with one of our sister services. The networks that you establish are important to your success. Now, I know you all are a lot further ahead than me and my generation in leveraging social networks and social media and finding ways to keep in touch. I am extremely impressed that I haven't seen any cell phones at all on any of the cadets here from before the ceremony, and nobody's got their thumbs moving, so this is quite impressive. But I hope that you all have each other connected on Facebook or somehow that you're able to reach out. What impresses me about the Freedom Battalion and the cadets here is that there is a wide array of career fields that are being entered here today. We have the combat arms represented, the combat support arms, combat service support. I think it's unusual that there's such a dispersion. And so as you all move on to your training and you start focusing on your own career field, I hope you'll feel free to reach back to each other and continue to learn from each other, and then continue to expand your network from there. You'll be able to do this as you move ahead and help each other in this Army that's in transition. So as you leave the years of academic study behind and begin a new chapter in your life, I suggest you have now two things to channel your energy toward: learning and leading. The next few years are your best opportunity to learn the skills in the technical field that you are entering. Whether it's the combat dimension of engineering, the tactical maneuvers of combined combat arms, flying helicopters and aviation, or learning the network that allows the Army to communicate globally in signal, or tackling the complexity of logistics in the world's largest organization in Quartermaster, or joining a world-class team on the cutting edge of intelligence, medical support, or chemical defense. Take the time to build your technical knowledge. Learn your craft. As you progress in the Army, you will be expected to have a certain baseline of knowledge that allows you to effectively lead at higher levels. And getting that baseline starts at your basic officer leader course, and it progresses from there. The Army is a learning organization, but you may have to seek out the opportunities to learn the fundamentals and to strengthen your technical foundation. It will pay off for you later, whether or not you decide to make the Army a lifelong career or not. At the same time, when you pin on your lieutenant bars, you are a leader. When you stand in front of your platoon for the first time, you will be the platoon leader. But it is experience, courage, judgment, and decisive action that will make you a good leader. So as you stand in front of your platoon, you have to ask yourself, what is going on behind the 30 or so eyes that are looking at me right now? What are they thinking, and what do they expect of me as a lieutenant? They expect you to know your profession. This is why continuous learning is so important. They expect you to have confidence in your leadership. This will come from the start that you have and the leadership training that you've gotten from the Freedom Battalion here, and it will come with experience in leading. They don't want you to be their friend, they want you to be their leader, taking care of soldiers and setting up the unit for tactical success. To do this, you need to know your job. Leader respect at the surface in our business is somewhat perfunctory, but true leader respect is earned only over time. Your development as a leader requires that you invest in yourself through your own professional training, through professional reading, through more formal education down the road, and guidance from many around you. You will have many opportunities to grow and become a more effective leader than you will be when you start today. My advice is to open yourself to help from leaders that are around you, to help from your soldiers, from your non-commissioned officers, and to use that to assess yourself as you grow as a leader in our Army. You're going to be joining ranks that are filled with soldiers, non-commissioned officers, and officers who are armed with the experiences of war. Many have multiple deployments. Allow yourself to learn from them. So as I stand here before you today, I can't help but reflect on my own commissioning from an ROTC program in Missouri many years ago, as I said earlier, at the end of the Vietnam War. There are so many differences from then to today. The Army that I went into was not an Army that gained a lot of admiration for entering the profession of arms. It was a different time then, and it was difficult coming out of the Vietnam War for our nation. This is different for you today. You are entering a profession today that is very much respected by the Americans that we serve. You are joining ranks with what President Obama recently called on his trip to Afghanistan, the next greatest generation. There are some expectations of you, let me get that out, that come with entering the next greatest generation. The expectations are that you uphold standards and discipline, that you will be the example setter, living by the Army values and the warrior ethos that binds us all together as a band of brothers and sisters, that you will hold yourself accountable for what's going on in your lane and what's in your control, and that you understand that the trust and confidence that our nation and leaders place in you to lead Americans' sons and daughters is your most important trust. Your leadership entails the health, the safety, the welfare, and sound tactical employment of soldiers in your charge. This responsibility makes you a leader that's a little bit different from a manager who's working off post. Your leadership extends beyond the walls of the armory, beyond the walls of the company day room. The families of your soldiers will expect that you will build your team to ensure their readiness to meet your tactical mission safely and effectively. This perhaps will be your greatest challenge, but it will also be the source of your greatest professional pride. Now, I have every confidence from what I've seen, although it has been a very brief glimpse, but I can tell that there's a lot of pride in the Freedom Battalion. And I have every confidence in the training that you've received here has put you on strong footing. That the educational foundation that you've gained at Widener University, Neumann University, Westchester University, or Penn State at Abington has prepared you well. So I've talked to you today about the challenge of the Army in transition that you are about to enter, about learning and about leading. Your transition to leading soldiers in today's dynamic Army will be challenging. In that challenge, you're going to find many opportunities to make a difference, to honorably serve your nation, to serve your communities, and to lead soldiers in the greatest Army in the world. And for this, I am so excited for you. If I could go back and sit in your chairs today and start all over, I would do it in a heartbeat. Your journey will be filled with adventure, challenge, but also very much filled with rewards. So again, I'd like to thank the university for hosting myself and Jim and for allowing us to be a part of this very special day. I'm very proud of your achievements and very proud to be a part of this ceremony. Congratulations.
Ma'am, on behalf of the cadets of the Freedom Battalion, I would like to present you with this gift.
Oh my goodness.
Thank you very much for
wow.
coming today.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you. It's my honor.
I'm just going to put it back under there. And then
Okay. Be a little noisy.
The cadets will now take the oath of office administered by a commissioned officer, active or retired. A few have selected a family member or close friend to do the honors. Would all those whom will be administering the oath of office please move forward at this time? Please feel free to move around and take photos. While they're moving into place, Cadet Don Bohn will receive his oath from his father, Lieutenant Colonel retired Donald Bohn Jr. Cadet Katlyn Culhane will receive her oath from Lieutenant Colonel retired Jack Moore. Cadet Jesse DeWan will receive his oath from 2nd Lieutenant Daniel Antonucci. Cadet Alyssa Fellows will receive her oath from her father, CW4 retired Gregory Fellows. Cadet Stephen Scuderi will receive his oath from Major Gary Niles. Cadet Robert Woolley will receive his oath from Captain John Whitmack. And Cadet John Vaders will receive his oath from his uncle, Navy Captain Matthew Gibbons. They will now recite the oath of office. Okay. You may take your seats. Lieutenant Colonel McDaniel will now administer the oath of office to the following cadets: Robert Hatcher, Jerry Glenn, Andrew Hopkins, Hannah Liesau, Brendan McCabe, Andrew Montgomery, and Nicholas Pisani.
Raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Nick Pisani,
Having been appointed an officer in the Army of the United States
have been appointed an officer in the Army of the United States
in the grade of second lieutenant,
in the grade of second lieutenant,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
to support and defend the Constitution of the United States
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
that I will well and faithfully discharge
that I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties of the office upon which I am about to enter.
the duties of the office that I'm about to be in.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Each newly commissioned officer will now be called forward individually for the traditional pinning on of the gold bars representing their new rank of second lieutenant, for the first salute with a non-commissioned officer, and to receive their commissioning certificate from the Professor of Military Science. Those of you who have been invited to assist with the pinning on of rank should come forward when your commissionee's name is read. Feel free to move forward and take photographs at any time. Our first commissioned officer is Second Lieutenant Donald M. Bohn III. Lieutenant Bohn is graduating from Widener University with a degree in English. He is a graduate of the Leader Development and Assessment course. During his senior year, he served as the Alpha Company Public Affairs Officer and Assistant Logistics Officer. He will enter the Army Reserves as a Combat Engineer Officer. He will attend the Army's Engineer Basic Officer Leader course at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, with a follow-on assignment to Headquarters 990th Engineer Company, Fort Dix, New Jersey. Lieutenant Bohn will have his rank pinned on by his mother, Lisa Schwartz, and his uncle, James Quinlan. Lieutenant Bohn will now receive his first salute from his brother-in-law, Master Sergeant Larry W. Metcalf. One tradition associated with the hand salute has withstood the test of time. The tradition is a newly appointed officer giving a silver dollar to the first enlisted person to salute him after he has received his commission. The exact origin of this custom is arguable. Researchers suggest that it came from the British regiments stationed in colonial America. They brought with them a number of customs and traditions that were retained by the newly formed American units. For example, newly commissioned British officers were assigned an enlisted soldier to train them, teach them the regiment's history and traditions, and ensure the officer's kit, dress, and field uniforms and personal equipment were serviceable at all times. Grateful lieutenants often showed their heartfelt gratitude by informally compensating the enlisted man with a small sum of money. This custom continued to grow within the British military and newly formed American units. American second lieutenants in 1816 received a monthly base pay of $25, a $3 ration allowance, and $1 for an enlisted advisor. This advisor's pay was later discontinued, but the responsibility for teaching the new commissioned officer continued. The present-day tradition is thought to have its roots in this relationship. The silver dollar is traditionally the only coin given in exchange for the first salute. The coin represents more than $1 in currency. To every new officer, it has a special significance. It represents the symbolic receipt of respect due a newly earned rank and position. Stay there. General Dyson and Colonel McDonald will now present his commissioning certificate. Congratulations, Lieutenant Bohn. Second Lieutenant Katlyn R. Culhane. Lieutenant Culhane is graduating from Widener University with a degree in political science and a degree in criminal justice. She is a graduate of the Leader Development and Assessment course. During her senior year, she served as the Battalion Logistics and Intelligence Officer. She will enter active duty to attend the Military Intelligence Officer Leader course at Fort Huachuca, Arizona, with a follow-on assignment at Fort Hood, Texas. Lieutenant Culhane will now have her rank pinned on by her parents, Robert and Liesau Culhane. Tell him he can close that. Lieutenant Culhane will now receive her first salute from her ROTC instructor, Sergeant First Class Pamela Brown. She will now receive her commissioning certificate. Congratulations, Lieutenant Culhane. Second Lieutenant Jesse D. DeWan. Lieutenant DeWan is graduating from Widener University with a degree in anthropology. Lieutenant DeWan is a distinguished military graduate. He is a graduate of the Leader Development and Assessment course, Airborne School, and Air Assault School. During his senior year, he served as the Battalion Commander and Alpha Company Commander. He will enter active duty to attend the Infantry Officer Basic Leader course at Fort Benning, Georgia, and will receive his follow-on assignment at his basic course. Lieutenant DeWan will have his rank pinned on by his wife Tracy DeWan and his father and mother Jim and Deb DeWan. Lieutenant DeWan will now receive his first salute from his ROTC instructor, Master Sergeant Jason Seeberger. He will now receive his commissioning certificate. Everybody does that every year. Congratulations, Lieutenant DeWan. Second Lieutenant Alyssa C. Fellows. Lieutenant Fellows is graduating from Westchester University with a degree in nutrition and dietetics. She's a graduate of the Leader Development and Assessment course. During her senior year, she serves as the Battalion Public Affairs Officer and the Delta Company Commander. She will enter active duty to attend the Quartermaster Basic Leader course at Fort Lee, Virginia, with a follow-on assignment at Fort Stewart, Georgia. Lieutenant Fellows will have her rank pinned on by her parents, C.W. Gregory and Christine Fellows. Lieutenant Fellows will receive her first salute from her ROTC instructor, Sergeant First Class James Purdy. now receive her commissioning certificate. Congratulations, Lieutenant Fellows. Second Lieutenant Gerard T. Glenn. Lieutenant Glenn is graduating from Neumann University with a degree in criminal justice. He is a graduate of the Leaders Training Course and the Leaders Training and Development course. During his senior year, he serves as the Battalion Intelligence and Operations Officer. He will enter active duty to attend the Armor Basic Officer Leaders course at Fort Benning, Georgia, and he will receive his follow-on assignment at the basic course. Lieutenant Glenn will have his rank pinned on by his parents, Jerry and Linda Glenn, and his brother and sister, Alex and April Glenn. Lieutenant Glenn will now receive his first salute from Sergeant First Class Brown. He will now receive his commissioning certificate. Congratulations, Lieutenant Glenn. Second Lieutenant Robert S. Hatcher. Lieutenant Hatcher is graduating from Penn State University, Abington, with a degree in Information Science Technology. He is a graduate of the Leaders Development and Assessment course. His senior year, he served as the Charlie Company Commander and Charlie Company First Sergeant. He will enter the Pennsylvania National Guard as an engineer officer. He will attend the Engineer Officer Basic course at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, with a follow-on assignment to the 103rd Engineer Company, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Lieutenant Hatcher will have his rank pinned on by his parents, Robert S. Hatcher Sr. and Gwendolyn Bly. Lieutenant Hatcher will now receive his salute from his father, Sergeant Retired Robert S. Hatcher Sr. He will now receive his commissioning certificate. Congratulations, Lieutenant Hatcher. Second Lieutenant Andrew D. Hopkins. Lieutenant Hopkins is graduating from Westchester University with a degree in philosophy and a minor in psychology. Lieutenant Hopkins is a distinguished military graduate. He is a graduate of the Leaders Development and Assessment course and Airborne School. During his senior year, he served as the Delta Company First Sergeant. He will enter the United States Army Reserve as a Medical Service Corps officer. He will attend the Medical Service Corps Basic Officers Leader course at Fort Sam Houston, Texas, with a follow-on assignment at the 338th Medical Brigade, Chester, Pennsylvania. Lieutenant Hopkins will have his rank pinned on by his mother, Lynn Hopkins, and his grandfather, Bill McNamara. Lieutenant Hopkins will receive his first salute from his brother, Corporal Jared Bull. He will now receive his commissioning certificate. Congratulations, Lieutenant Hopkins. Second Lieutenant Hannah J. Liesau. Lieutenant Liesau is graduating from Widener University with a degree in nursing. She is a graduate of the Leader Development Assessment course and attended the Nurse Summer Training Program. During her senior year, she served as the Battalion Adjutant and the Battalion Command Sergeant Major. She will enter active duty to attend the Army Nurse Basic Officer Leader course at Fort Sam Houston, Texas, and she will receive her follow-on assignment at her basic course. Lieutenant Liesau will have her rank pinned on by her mother, Cindy Liesau. Lieutenant Liesau will receive her first salute from Sergeant First Class Brown. She will now receive her commissioning certificate. Congratulations, Lieutenant Liesau. Second Lieutenant Brandon T. McCabe. Lieutenant McCabe is graduating from Widener University with a degree in criminal justice. He is a graduate of the Leader Development and Assessment course and Air Assault School. During his senior year, he served as the Assistant Operations Officer. He will enter the United States Army Reserve as a Quartermaster Officer. He will attend a Quartermaster Basic Officer Leader course at Fort Lee, Virginia, with a follow-on assignment with Detachment 1 of the 611th Quartermaster Company, Dover, Delaware. Lieutenant McCabe will have his rank pinned on by his parents, Robert and Margaret McCabe, and his little brother. Lieutenant McCabe will now receive his first salute from Sergeant First Class Purdy. He will now receive his commissioning certificate. Congratulations, Lieutenant McCabe. Second Lieutenant Andrew C. Montgomery. Lieutenant Montgomery is graduating from Widener University with a degree in biology and minors in chemistry and biochemistry. He is a graduate of the Leader Development and Assessment course and Air Assault School. During his senior year, he served as the Battalion Operations Officer and Alpha Company First Sergeant. He will enter active duty to attend the Chemical Corps Basic Officer Leader course at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, with a follow-on assignment at Fort Drum, New York. Lieutenant Montgomery will have his rank pinned on by his parents, Craig and Deborah Montgomery. Lieutenant Montgomery will now receive his first salute from Sergeant First Class Purdy.
Get back up there.
Will now receive his commissioning certificate. Congratulations, Lieutenant Montgomery. Good guy. Second Lieutenant Nicholas C. Pisani. Lieutenant Pisani is graduating from Widener University with a degree in sociology. He is a graduate of the Leader Development and Assessment course. During his senior year, he served as the Battalion Logistics Officer and the Alpha Company First Sergeant. He will enter active duty to attend the Signal Corps Basic Officer Leader course at Fort Gordon, Georgia, with a follow-on assignment at Fort Bliss, Texas. Lieutenant Pisani will have his rank pinned on by his parents, Ed and Lisa Pisani. Lieutenant Pisani will now receive his first salute from Sergeant First Class Brown. He will now be presented his commissioning certificate. Congratulations, Lieutenant Pisani. Second Lieutenant Stephen P. Scuderi. Lieutenant Scuderi is graduating from Widener University with degrees in political science and international relations. He's a graduate of the Leader Development and Assessment course. During his senior year, he serves as the assistant to the Battalion Operations Officer. He will enter active duty to attend Field Artillery Basic Officer Leader course at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, where he will receive his follow-on assignment. Lieutenant Scuderi will have his rank pinned on by his parents, Dr. Stephen and Susan Scuderi. Lieutenant Scuderi will now receive his first salute from his instructor, Sergeant First Class Brown. He will now receive his commissioning certificate. Congratulations, Lieutenant Scuderi. Second Lieutenant John P. Vaders. Lieutenant Vaders is graduating from Widener University with a degree in criminal justice. He's a graduate of the Leader Development and Assessment course and attended the Cadet Troop Leader Training Program at Fort Jackson, South Carolina. During his senior year, he served as the Alpha Company Commander and the Assistant to the Battalion Adjutant. He will enter active duty to attend the Engineer Basic Officer Leader course at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, and he will receive his follow-on assignment at the basic course. Lieutenant Vaders will have his rank pinned on by his cousins, Lieutenant J.G. Patrick Gibbons and Lieutenant J.G. John Paul Gibbons. Lieutenant Vaders will now receive his first salute from Specialist 5th Class retired John Martin. He will now receive his commissioning certificate. Congratulations, Lieutenant Vaders. Second Lieutenant Robert E. Woolley. Lieutenant Woolley is graduating from Westchester University with a degree in geography. He is a graduate of the Leaders Development and Assessment course. During his senior year, he served as the Delta Company Public Affairs and Tactics Evaluator. He will enter the United States Army Reserve as an aviation officer. He will attend the Aviation Basic Officer Leader course at Fort Rucker, Alabama, with a follow-on assignment at A Company, 2nd Battalion, 228th Aviation Brigade, Joint Base, McGuire-Dix Lakehurst, New Jersey. Lieutenant Woolley will have his rank pinned on by his wife, Elizabeth Woolley, and his mother, Ruth Woolley. Lieutenant Woolley will now receive his first salute from Sergeant First Class Purdy. He will now receive his commissioning certificate. Congratulations, Lieutenant Woolley. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the posting of the orders. Put those down. Attention to orders. The President of the United States has reposed special trust, confidence, patriotism, valor, fidelity, and abilities of Donald M. Bohn, Katlyn R. Culhane, Jesse M. DeWan, Alyssa C. Fellows, Gerard T. Glenn, Matthew L. Gotzi, Robert S. Hatcher, Andrew D. Hopkins, Hannah J. Liesau, Robert T. McCabe, Andrew C. Montgomery, Nicholas C. Pisani, Stephen P. Scuderi, John P. Vaders, and Robert E. Woolley. They are therefore appointed to the grade of Second Lieutenant in the United States Army effective 10 May 2012. Ladies and gentlemen, the newly commissioned class of 2012. Please be seated. Second Lieutenant Jesse DeWan will now be presented with the Widener Alumni Saber. This saber is awarded to the newly commissioned lieutenant in the Freedom Battalion who has demonstrated the highest attributes of scholastic achievement, leadership excellence, and overall superior performance. Lieutenant DeWan will receive his saber from Mr. David McNulty, Esquire, Pennsylvania Military College class of 1963.
Lieutenant DeWan, would you come over here, please? Stand at ease. Dr. Harris, distinguished guests, I'd like to take a few moments presenting this saber to Lieutenant DeWan, and just to say it is my honor and my privilege to be asked to participate in this service. It's a deeply moving and sentimental time for me, for this is my 49th anniversary of my graduation from this institution, which was then known as Pennsylvania Military College, the second oldest military college in the nation. It is also the 49th anniversary of my commissioning as a young second lieutenant on the parade field behind Old Main. I come to you and to all of the young lieutenants here as a voice from the past, bringing you a message of insight and truth for your future. It's the same message that we received as incoming freshman cadets in 1959. That timeless message is this: character counts. It counted then, and it counts today more than ever. Dr. Harris's predecessor from generations past, Colonel Hyatt, coined an epigram of truth for all young cadets at this institution. It's part of the wisdom literature of PMC and Widener University that has stood the test of time and the devolution of our modern mores. His proverb was as follows: when wealth is lost, nothing is lost. When health is lost, something is lost. When character is lost, all is lost. In the opening lines of our PMC alma mater, we sang, "Beneath the dome of PMC, the men in gray march by. The banners of our loyalty held ever bright and high. Though weary years have called us forth from home to foreign sod, the truths you taught shall hold us fast to country and to God." Weary years have indeed called us and my classmates forth to foreign and sometimes hostile sod. And yes, the truths we were taught under this dome, as symbolized by this saber, have indeed held us fast to country and to God. Two of my classmates paid the ultimate price for the preservation of these truths by their combat service in Vietnam. On the plaque right behind young Lieutenant Liesau, you will find their names: John Lance Gagan, affectionately known as Jack, and William James Stevenson, affectionately known as Buddy. His widow, Carol Stevenson DeBunda, graces us here with her presence today. My friend Jack was the top cadet and president of our class. He was the brigade commander. He was a man of character and integrity, one of the most distinguished military students in the nation in 1963. Like you, Lieutenant DeWan, Jack was the recipient of this saber 49 years ago. In an historic event behind Old Main, retired President and former five-star General Dwight David Eisenhower reviewed the Pennsylvania Corps of Cadets prior to our commissioning. In return, Jack presented another ceremonial saber to President Eisenhower, and we, the Corps of Cadets, who were blessed and saluted by the Supreme Allied Commander of World War II and the President of the United States, who put one nation under God into our Pledge of Allegiance. Today, as a commander of the Freedom Battalion, you are the continuing heir and benefactor of that salute and blessing by General Eisenhower. By my presentation of this saber to you, I link you back in time to that honorary significant moment in June of 1963. 2 years after that, Jack would be killed in the Battle of Ia Valley in Vietnam. Jack's heroic story is portrayed in the Mel Gibson movie, We Were Soldiers. Jack's death, like his life, was virtuous and noble. He received the Silver Star for gallantry in action in trying to save one of his wounded troopers. It is with the sacred honor and cherished memory of Jack and Buddy from my class, other class members on the plaque, from Captain Nathan Raudenbush, class of '05, killed in Iraq, and on behalf of all the members, living and deceased, of the long gray line of PMC and the Freedom Battalion cadets, that the saber shall be passed to you. There is one caveat, however. The saber comes heavy with responsibility and symbolism. The good news is that it is lightened by the heartfelt prayers of your loved ones and all the members of the Cadet Corps that have preceded you. Receiving this saber is very much like unto the anointing of a knight. On behalf of all your fellow officers, you are being sanctified, set apart for a noble and decent purpose. General Eisenhower told us history does not long entrust the care of freedom to the weak or the timid. In Saving Private Ryan, Captain John Miller whispered into the ear of Private James Ryan, "James, earn it, earn it." In World War I in Flanders Field, Dr. John McCabe passed the torch of leadership to a new generation, saying, "If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep." Abraham Lincoln spoke of the mystic cords of memory stretching from every battlefield and patriot grave to the living hearts of all of you here today. On behalf of all of those who have gone before, Jack and Buddy and Nathan and all those yet to be commissioned, I charge you to earn it. Do not break faith with us. Do not break those mystic cords of memory. I charge you to be a person of firm character, a lieutenant of unshakable ethic, an officer of unmatched integrity. General Washington said, when we assumed the soldier, we did not lay aside the citizen. You are to be a leader beyond reproach, a servant of inexhaustible patience and grace, a patriot aglow with zeal and passion for your country and Constitution, and a model citizen and an alumnus of the highest virtue and nobility. May God bless you, Lieutenant DeWan, and all the other young lieutenants here today. Present the saber to you. God bless you.
Lieutenant DeWan, now prepare to sheath the Corps saber. This event is a long-standing tradition carried on from the days of the Pennsylvania Military College when the cadet first captain would sheath the saber to signal the end of the academic year. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the benediction and remain standing for the playing of the Army song.
If we can again be in an attitude of prayer. Holy One, we thank you for your presence in the applause, the laughter, the tears of joy, and in the hope of our days ahead. We are reminded of the words of General Douglas MacArthur, who gave his definition of a true leader as one who has the confidence to stand alone, the courage to make tough decisions, and the compassion to listen to the needs of others. May our confidence, which is in transition, our compassion built on life lessons and networks we have, and our courage to lead, which we learned here at Widener and Westchester and Neumann and Penn State Abington, and through this Freedom Battalion, may it all, in the spirit of all the second lieutenants who have stood in this place, prepare us enough to deal with the unforeseeable and the unpredictable. Holy Creator, be with our families, our brothers and sisters in the military family, and all who protect virtue, wisdom, and freedom with their very lives. Send us forth in your holy name, we pray and say, Amen.
Of the
The commissionees will now form a file in front of the podium to be congratulated by faculty and administration. Grab your stuff. On behalf of Lieutenant Colonel McDaniel and the entire Freedom Battalion, thank you for joining us today in this very special celebration. A reception will be held in the University Center Web Room at this time. The Web Room is located in the University Center on 14th Street. Cadets will assist you with directions. Thank you for attending.